issues from the recovery or not, but certainly I hope this will look better and get some relief.
His last round of chemo, then has another sting in it this month. His last round of chemo, then has another sting in it this month.
But I think it's pretty comfortable forward. His last round of
chemo, then has another sting in it.
I never had heard about that, but now it's comfortable forward. His last round of chemo, then has another sting in it. I never had heard about that, but now it's comfortable forward.
Let's pray. Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, Lord God, we thank you for this. Lord, thank you for your love, your mercy, your grace. Lord, thank you for the opportunity to come into your house. I pray that as we enter these doors, Lord, that you would remove anything from our hearts or our minds. Don't let us worship you as you deserve to be worshipped. Lord, I just thank you for all you've done for us, Lord. So many prayer requests have been lifted up this morning, Lord. Most of them, Lord, are lifted up because of cancer. Lord, and I just pray in each of the situations there's so many different needs, different I guess treatments, or you're on the beginning side of the cancer or on the tail end, Lord. I just pray that in all of it that your will would be done. I pray that you could be with Christine's mom, Lord, and Christine, and she's ministering to taking care of her mom, Lord. I pray that you would give her good days, that you would ease this pain. Lord, lift up Bud to you as he goes through treatments, Lord. I lift up Joel, Lord, and pray you give him strength. Pray that you would allow him to wait on. Lord, I thank you for the report that we heard from Karen's mom. Lord, there's so many others that have been mentioned. Lord, I lift up Joel to you, Lord, as he prepares for back surgery. I pray that you would just ease his pain. Lord, give him peace about this, Lord. I just pray that you would just bring him back to the health that he desires, Lord. Lord, I just thank you for all you do for us. Lord, thank you for David and Dixie for leading our class, Lord. I'm so excited to see what you do through us this next year. Lord, I just once again thank you for all you do for us, Lord. I lift up our S&P team for us as they're in Gatlinburg. I pray that you would speak to them, Lord, and lead them as they lead our youth. Lord, I just once again thank you. Lift up Brother Gary to you. Lift up our church to you, Lord. I pray you let it be a light in this community that you have it to be. All these, Lord, I lift up in the precious name of Jesus.
Thank you.
Yeah,
go ahead and start. This is, for those in the class and those who may be connected online,
This is the first time we're streaming this class, so this is what new thing for us to try here. We'll see how this goes, and hopefully get some feedback. So if you're connected online, for those doing that, please give us some feedback if you have trouble with the volume or the video quality and things like that. We'd certainly love to hear that, understand how that goes. And you'll know for those online, if you've not normally seen this, so next sometime we are starting video stream about a quarter after or around that, just whenever we finish the prayer. And we've done that because a lot of times the prayer requests make it more personal and not real comfortable with streaming that part of it. So we will always start the streaming right after prayer time for the class.
Where is it?
There's a link, Ben put a link out on our church website on the homepage, just below the, what is it, Ben, the giving link, I think. Mm-hmm. So you can go to our church website and get it from there. And I'm sure at that point, if you saved it as a favor, if you want to go back to it, you go back to it, you'll have to go to the church website. So hopefully that works okay this morning. We'll see. Man's more understanding about that. Okay, so it is, yeah, you're on. All right, great. So it is at least working. So we do have some folks down in Pigeon Forge. That's in Team is connected. So they're so good morning. Some folks, I hope everything went well this morning and this weekend for you. So this morning we're in session 6. This is actually finishing up this series that we've been on through the Christmas holidays. And we've looked at several aspects of the Jesus story as we've gone through Jesus' birth and doing this. And next week we'll start a brand new series. So this morning the scripture focal passage is actually Matthew 2 verses 1 through 11. And we'll read that here in just a few minutes, but I won't give a chance to those connected to flip to that if they don't have a Sunday school book with them. But some things we want to talk about. We've looked at Joseph's view, I guess, and the things that he went through and what he dealt with. We've looked at Mary's point of view. We've talked about the shepherds and their role in this and getting the message out and the things they did up to Jesus' birth and announcing that and carrying it out to the people of the area once God had spoken to them and told them to go see the Christ child. So this morning we're going to kind of talk about the wise men, but I want to talk a little bit as we look through this about worship. So think about worship. What does worship mean? What is worship? What we always talk about, well, we're going to church for worship. What is worship?
Focusing on God and giving Him the respect, love that He deserves.
Yes. Yeah. Giving ourselves to Him. We're speaking out and through many different ways. I want to read, I pulled up from Webster Dictionary defines worship as reverent honor and homage paid to God or a sacred personage or to any object regarded as sacred. So it's honor and homage. We're honoring God. How are some ways we do that as Christians? How are some ways we honor God?
How we live our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. The way we live our lives.
Trying to adhere to the Bible's teaching.
Yeah. We're not always great at it, but we're trying.
That's why I said try.
And how about when we do corporate worship? What are some things that we do?
Our presence, being there, singing,
and tithing goes into multiple things, right? Not just monetary, but tithing also includes our time. Giving our time to God. Praise lifting God up in prayer and praising Him and thanking Him for everything. It's very important. There's so many things that we can do to worship God. Do we always come to church ready to worship? We talked about this, I know, last couple of weeks, kind of leading up to this.
Distractions everywhere.
Yeah. What are some things that hinder us from worshiping someone? Because that's what we're coming here to do, right? It's to worship.
Well, the devil's going to try to hinder you any way he can. Like when you're at home getting ready to come to church,
he's gonna try every way he can to get you not to come to church.
Mhm.
It'll make you late, it'll make you.
Yeah, so they could lie.
Yes.
Said before, the devil is never more prevalent in life than Sunday morning.
Yeah. And why is it that, it's funny, Lynn and I talk all the time. Any other day of the week, Saturdays included, around 25:30, 6 o'clock, it's like the alarm clock went off in my head, because that's what time I get up every day. So I'm ready to go to work. I get up ready to go, and I'll lay there just a few minutes trying to, after a few minutes, I'm wiggling around so much, I might as well get up and go do something. On Sunday mornings, however, the alarm clock will go off because I said it, because I know the devil loved me to sleep through, and I would. And that's the funny thing is, Sunday mornings, I can sleep easy. And I don't know why it is. Well, I know why, but devil put it there. But I'm thinking, seriously, every other day, I can't sleep. On Sunday, it's like, oh, just give me 5 more minutes in bed. And I'm usually up and doing something by that time on any other day of the week. So it is interesting. The devil does a good job of trying to keep us from worshiping, because he doesn't want us to do it. He doesn't want us to come together for corporate worship. Because isolation, he has more strength with isolation, and keep us from understanding that others are going through the same thing you're going through. As we're facing trials, as we're going through these things, it's easy to say, I don't want to share it because it's kind of personal. I'm the only one doing it. I'm the only one who does it. And many times when we come together and we have this time of prayer for what we bring things up, we find out that there's a lot of people going through the same thing. I've always heard growing up, there's no new sins under the sun. There's a good reason for that. The devil hadn't had to create any new sins. He's still pretty good at using those, and we still fall for them, just as much as we always have. They may be delivered in a different way, but it's the same old sins that we've fallen for years. So one thing I want to look at as we look through this, and I want to focus. We're going to focus in on wise men this morning and their trek to see Jesus. They had a choice, didn't they? They saw these were astrologers, probably Babylonian. It's not confirmed. They don't know this for sure, but probably from the Babylonian Empire. And it's thought these wise men could actually be Jewish. There was a lot of people in Exodus, when they had the Exodus, that actually stayed behind. A lot of Jews stayed behind and were very successful. They had successful businesses. They were very largely populated when they left, so a lot of them stayed behind. So they would have had synagogues to worship in. They would have carried on, so they would have known about the prophecies. Now, it could have been, it's not that they have to be Jewish, because it's thought also they could have been from the Far East and had just been very interested in manuscripts and had read history and looked through a lot of manuscripts. But it's always interesting to me, who do you see, how many wise men were there if you look at Manderson? There's 30. Now, it's never really said that there's 3 wise men. There's 3 gifts brought. There could have been multiple wise men with it. There could have been 3 key wise men through this, but their trek was several thousand miles. This wasn't get on your donkey and ride Kingsport and be there in a day and a half. This took a long time for them to travel. Now, you get a group like this traveling. They obviously had money, right? Because the gifts they brought were very expensive gifts. So they would have been men of position, more than likely. Would they have traveled by themselves?
Probably not. Treasure.
No.
Exactly, treasure.
And several thousand miles.
Yeah.
So think about if you were to go on a trip, and they said, here's you I'll say a horse that's going to be much faster, than what they would have probably. And they said, you're going to have to go about from here to California. And what do you need to take with you? If you have no hotels along the way, I'll be a lot of stuff, isn't it? So you think about the entourage they had with them would have been a huge caravan, because they had to carry their sleeping places with them. They had to take tents to set up. They had to take food supplies and water and all this kind of stuff, because They may not know exactly. They're following a star. You know, these were astrologers. And I think it's so interesting that God chose to do it this way. And because the astrologers would have been watching the stars. And it was very common in that day if you saw a shooting star or a meteor go by or a star that looks different, was the indication many times to them that a new leader, a king had been born, or a new leader had been born. So they were kind of looking for these type of things in. And when they saw this, they started out, we need to go see this new king. Well, they knew the scripture. They knew what was going on about the prophecy. And that's kind of where we pick up. We're going to see that they've traveled into Jerusalem because in that day, you wouldn't go to Bethlehem to look for a king. Bethlehem was a small community outside of Jerusalem. You'd go to Jerusalem. You won't go to the capital because if the king's going to be born, he'll be born in a palace, right? I mean, that would make sense. Coming from their point of view, no matter what, that's where a king's going to be born. And it turns out that's not the case as they find out. So let's go ahead and look at our scripture. It's Matthew 2, verses 1 through 11. We'll just read through all of it and go back and break some of this down. But after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of King Herod, wise men from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he who has been born King of Jews? For we saw his star at its rising and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was deeply disturbed, and all of Jerusalem with him. So he assembled all the chief priests and scribes of the people and asked them where Jesus Christ would be born. "In Bethlehem of Judea," they told him, "because this is what was written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means the least among the rulers of Judah, because out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly summoned the wise men and asked them the exact time the star appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. When you find him, report back to me so that I too can go and worship him." After hearing the king, they went on their way. And there it was, the star they had been seeing at its rising. It led them until it came and stopped above the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overwhelmed with joy. Entering the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and falling to their knees, they worshipped him. They opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. So we see here, as they've arrived, they're asking where this king is, where this king is that has been born. Now, at this point, when the shepherd or when the wise men saw the star, the time they've gotten this to this point, it's probably somewhere between a year and 2 years. So Jesus was no longer a baby in swaddling clothes, right? He's now a toddler or crawling around or whatever. He's not in a manger. So, it's funny. We always you see the manger scene, you always have the wise men and the manger scene, stuff like that. That was just the way the artist used to pull in the whole story. They didn't necessarily mean that the wise men were at the manger. That's just the way they told the story through their art to show this. And that's just kind of the way it's stayed over the years. So it has hung on with that, and it throws us off sometimes, but we always think, "Oh, wise men were right there." No, not really. The thought is that Mary and Joseph were probably in a house at this point, and were living their life with raising their son, Jesus. So it's interesting, though. I think when you see this, the astrologers, when they look at this and they're looking for Jesus, I think it's interesting. It makes you wonder, was this an existing star that they were following? Or did they see a new star? And I thought about this several times, so I think, it's the stars are the stars, right? We look at it, well, we don't know. I could look stars 100 times, and I wouldn't be able to tell you which stars are, and if it's a new one has appeared or not. That's what these people did. They studied this. And it really makes me wonder, they followed the star as they made their journey. But it says later on down here that the star stopped over Jesus. And I thought several times, for it to say it that way, I take that very literal. I think God made the star stop over top to let them signify they have found what they were looking for. And I think it's so awesome that the God we serve, the God who loves us that much, what he's doing. And I think many times we see those signs today and we overlook them. I think God gives us these directives, things that point us in the direction he wants us to go in. And we're so busy sometimes we forget it. It's like you mentioned, we get life gets in the way, doesn't it? And we get so caught up in everything that it's hard. But, on the way down, I'm thinking, okay, in that 5 minutes, I covered this at work, this at home, this at church, and my mind was it's just like rapid fire things going on. It's no wonder we carried everything. It's not that our minds aren't working, it's the fact that our minds are working in so many different directions that our files are full. We're thinking of too many things at the same time, and it causes us to lose focus on what's really important. And if you're like me, I find even when I try to have quiet time and focus and have prayer, while I'm doing that, my mind will wander. And I'm thinking, when I get done, I've got to go to and I go through this list of things. I have to stop. I'm not doing that now. I want to have prayer time. I want to focus. And, 5 minutes later, it's over here again. And we get in a ditch. We're trying to focus on God. Do you think, we talked about this a little bit already. The wise men had choice, didn't they? Did they have to follow the star? They chose to follow the star. They chose to follow the star to go find out where this king was born. They knew the prophecy. This was the king of Jews they were going to find, which also kind of makes me think, I agree with some of the analysts who think, they may have been Jewish because that would have meant more to them to go search the Christ child out. But they took on a tremendous effort to travel this distance to go find him, to worship him, just to worship him. We have trouble getting out of bed and driving 5 minutes or less. I mean, I live half a mile from the church. Sometimes like, I go to church, better get ready and go. Because we're expected to be there. So they'll call us. Preacher may call them, love you, but I'm going. That sort of thing sometimes. They took on this journey because all they wanted was people. Because they knew what. I hope that we can get that same urgency. And a lot of times it starts with prayer on Sunday morning, right? With all the chaos going on at home, if you have kids in your house, it's triple the chaos, or maybe more. and you come with things, but sometimes you need to stop and have prayer before, as soon as you get up on Sunday morning. Say, God, give me a good day. Give me a day where I can focus on you. Give me a day where I can worship you in earnest and really have that time of understanding and learn more. Part of our Sunday school is that, we're worshiping God through diving into His Word and understanding and trying to apply it in our life. But we have a choice. We've got a choice every time we come together. And our choice may be to stay home or do something else, or a choice to come to church and worship God. Or maybe through what we're doing now with streaming, people can have, when they're not feeling well or traveling, whatever, they can log in and be able to worship with us in Sunday school. And I think it's so important that we spend that time because it causes us to have a time of focus, doesn't it? When we're together and discussing out loud. But one thing that I think is interesting as we look through this, and we'll get down into marriage in a minute, but we have to make a decision every time we come to church. Every time you're in God's presence, we make a decision. And you have to decide, am I going to draw closer to God as a Christian, or am I going to let that slip a little bit further away? Do you ever stay static as a Christian? I mean, by standing still, are you really standing still? Probably not. We may think we're standing still, but typically, if you're going down a highway and you think, well, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm going to stand still because that's going to stay Are you standing? Are you feel like you're moving backwards? You're sitting highway if you don't get run over. Make you run over, you're gonna start out to do that. We're moving backwards. Huh? You know, we talk about this at work a lot. Scott and I work in IT department. In IT department, if you're not growing your education, Ben's in that too. And this is true for just about any field of study. But if you're not constantly trying to grow your education, what you're doing, you're moving backwards because everything else is moving forward pretty quickly. And there is no stand still and keep on like that. And I think it's the same with God. I think things are moving so quickly that we have to make a decision. Are we going to move forward with God? Or are we going to stay still where we're at? And many times sadly enough, we make a decision. And it's not that you have to come out of your pew and go down to the altar every Sunday morning to do that. But we make a choice every night. And we make a choice by our actions of how do we apply the things He's asked us to apply to our lives so that we draw closer to Him. Because that's how we draw closer to Him. No, it's not just sitting here saying on Sunday morning, saying all the right things. It's how we apply Him in our life. As we go through the week, that we draw that closeness. We've talked several times, just practicing it until we get better at anything, sports, whatever it may be. You have to practice. You can't go out and shoot ball. If you're playing basketball, I can tell you from experience. And Dave's the coach. Are the kids going to be good if they go out and practice? You practice about 3 times before the season starts, and then that's it.
So we tell them, only practice they get is at my practice, they're not getting good. Put it on the road.
That's it. It goes beyond that, though. Yeah. And we forget that when it comes to those things. We know that sport. Because I made sure with y'all several years ago, we went to a work trying to get together and play ball during lunch break. We went to an outdoor court. And, in our minds, we talked a lot of trash during the week before we went to play. To each other, how we was going to really wipe the floor with each other and stuff like that. We got over and found out none of us were any good anymore. None of us had played in a long time. And, one guy tore his Achilles tendon. I broke my finger. I mean, we had all the stuff you get when old men try to go out and do stuff. In our minds, we're like, I remember back when I used to do that. In reality, it didn't happen. We were all a lot slower than we used to be, and most of them didn't do what we thought they should do once we got there. It was kind of embarrassing. Glad there wasn't a lot of people around to see us do this, because it probably looked even worse than it felt when we were out there. But we got to do this, don't we, with our worship of God, with our, the actions that we have. If we don't practice these things, we don't get done. We don't practice doing what He's told us to do. It's always going to feel a little awkward. If you go visit someone, share your testimony with someone. When you first did that, it is so awkward for you. I remember going out and talking to people, leaving the house thinking, oh my gosh, that was horrible. I said everything wrong that you could say wrong. They probably will never go to church after I shared with them what I shared with them. But God can take that and use it because our willingness to go. And as we go more and we get more comfort and also the fear isn't there like it was. We get better at it because of that. So we need to have that practice and that experience that we take with us. And we draw closer to Him, and our worship becomes better. Worship becomes more worshipful. I'll sort of put it that way. But to go along with this story, there's another piece of this we see. They go to King Herod. Now, King Herod is one of those kings that he wasn't in Scripture, put it that way. He knew about Scripture. He did not follow God at all, and his actions showed that very clearly. He was very paranoid. He had not only killed his first wife and his mother-in-law, he had killed several people in his family. He had killed several people that anybody he saw as a threat to his being king. He had them killed. So he did a lot of really, really bad stuff. And you see, when he hears about this, why would he be upset about hearing about wise men coming to worship a child king?
We'll go take his place.
Yes.
No rival.
And it's King of the Jews, right?
Yeah.
a lot of Jews in this area. So, you look at the kingdoms that surround them in this area. You've got 4 major kingdoms that's in this area. That all of a sudden now you have a religious leader that can draw a lot of people. He got really nervous about that because he thinks, man, I can see my people on the way at some point. He's going to threaten me. Not only that, but if you look at Herod's lineage, his family, he was not the rightful heir. It would have been a family line of David, which is, as we remember when we were studying about Jesus' birth, Jesus is in the family line of David. That is the true heir to the kingdom. So he sees this as a double threat. Not only do you have this proclamation or the prophecy that Jesus is King of the Jews, is King of the Jews, not is going to be, is King of the Jews, but he's also in the family line of David.
Which I am not.
That's right. What she's saying, this is a big time threat. Yeah.
He wasn't supposed to be on this stable thing either.
No, he's enough.
Yeah, he had other issues going on. He's crazy.
Yeah. As Barney Fife would say, he's enough. So it says in here that if you look down in verse 3, it says, he was deeply disturbed in all of Jerusalem with him. Excuse me. Now, you can understand why he's upset, right? Because in his history, the paranoia there. He's worried, he's scared, he's wanting to do away with this threat as quick as possible. But all of Jerusalem with him, it said, was disturbed. It's funny, and there's a couple of ways I've thought about this to look at it. You think one, if Herod's upset, being under his rule,
The crazy king's upset. Everybody else is upset.
Exactly. Yeah, what's he going to do now?
Yeah.
Who's he going to recruit healed? Area? Who knows? Yeah. So if the crazy king's upset, watch out. And the other part of this, excuse me, that I thought of. We've talked about disruptors in our lives and the change in our lives. Anytime we're introduced to Jesus, you think back to when you got saved. Did it become, and disruptors are not always bad, right? We've talked about it. Disruptors can be a good thing. It just changes our life. Did following Jesus disrupt your life?
Better. It should have.
Yeah. If it didn't, we need to question, did we really make a decision? So yes, it should have caused a very large disruption in our life the way it was. So that now we're actually following what he's got laid out for us to do. And that disruption continues through our whole life. As we do things, as we mature, I think God gives us more things to do. Too much has been given, which will be required. As we grow and we mature and we try new things, he's going to give us more things to keep us doing. Those are things that's going to cause disruption in our lives. The people may have serious, some people are very scared of that. Change makes us all a bit nervous. It's very common place, and for most people. But, we talk about change, the palms on, get sweaty on, all of a sudden, immediately we're like, I don't want to change. We don't even know if it's good or bad. We just know, we know what we have now, and it's a known quantity. When I go into work every day, well, not anymore. I used to say, I'm going to do da-da-da-da-da-da. And I pretty much had it structured out, and I thought, okay, I know what I want to do. Well, when that changes, like, even if it turns out good later, it's a very uncomfortable thing that we're going into it. So, having disruptors in our life can be a very important thing, especially when it comes to Jesus being the disruptor. So they could have been disturbed because of that also. But it could have been a mix, but probably real heavy toward the crazy king. I think they might guess. But as Herod calls the wise men are probably tickled, right? King Herod called us to have a private session. Let's say private session. He wanted to get them off by himself because the king knew the people around him would know his motive because he's crazy. So he calls them in private. He said, I want to have to talk to you. Well, This allows me to travel from the Far East. They're probably saying, hey, we got an audience with the king. This is great. We're going to tell him everything we're doing and stuff. Herod's like, man, that's fantastic. I want you to go to Bethlehem and find him. But when you do, come back and tell me because I'd like to come worship you. Man, this is great. I'm glad you're all here because this is exactly what I've been looking for. Somebody go find him because this is going to be a great thing for us. And they go out to find him. In their minds, thinking, this is good. We're now working for the king. He's told us to go do this. We're going to report back. Man, we may have positions in his government because we do this for him. This is going to be awesome. Well, luckily, God, I don't say luckily, God reveals to them what's really going on, and obviously they don't go back to him. But what was Herod's idea? He was killing, didn't he? So what does Herod do when they don't report back?
Slaughter them all.
Yeah.
Under 2 years old.
Yeah. Any child in Bethlehem under 2 years old will kill them all. That's how crazy it was.
That's pretty stout.
That's a pretty stout guy. How'd you like to be a soldier? You had to go carry that out, kill children. In vain. Over a whole countryside.
I always wondered why he didn't send some soldiers to follow. Was why.
I don't know. And it makes you wonder, did he? He may have, and they may have, God may have blind them to let them escape. Yeah, I don't know. I've wondered that too. It makes sense because today we would probably think, well, you tell them go on, then you put people behind them. And maybe they did. Maybe there was spies going with them that they didn't know was there, and through God's intervention, they have blinded them before they lost track of it.
Well, he was a king, and back in the day, you did what the king said.
True.
And he may have thought, well, I'm telling them to do this, they'll do it. I don't need to do.
Okay. And they had no reason at that point not to trust him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when he was telling them this, they were probably all gung ho. This is great. He may have even given them some food and things like that to support them even more as they went out, maybe money. It's just 5 miles away. It's at this point, after thousands of miles, this is going across the street. But it's that's 5 miles away. So it wasn't a long trip. So you think it'd be hard to get them sleep in that distance. But I don't know. But for whatever reason, he didn't find out. But here comes crazy and kills them all. But it's amazing when you see this and we think of things today and goes on and think, wow, that's really crazy. But when you think of what he did, that's way out there. That's Hitler type out there when you look at these things. But I think even through all this and what I think we need to focus on is the fact that even with all this doing, all the craziness of going to the palace and doing all this stuff and then the angel letting them know that this is going on so you don't need to report back, which probably caused some worry on their part now that they probably know enough about Herod to know if you go against him, you're probably not going to live long on something like this. To do all that, think about the distraction. But it did not deter them from worship. What they had set up for the and I think that is what we're trying to say with us throughout this lesson and throughout this weeks and months ahead. Is with all the distractions going on this year, there's going to be a tremendous amount of things that get in our way of worshiping people. We need to go back and remember that everything that went, they still went to worship God. They still took the gifts that they had brought to Jesus. The ladies showing on them. And we need to carry it with us every day. When we come to church on Sundays, when we come on Wednesday nights, when we're at work, when we're at home, when we're at the grocery store, no matter where it is, we're worshiping God through our actions. And we need to remember that we are, no matter what goes on in our lives, when we have our quiet time, to really close things out. If you have to literally go get in a closet and close the door, I can tell you right now, Clayton does that. He goes literally and shuts a door in his closet and sits there because he said that's the only way he can truly. Maybe we need to do that. Maybe we need to go somewhere where we can just shut everything out and worship God for not let keep us from doing that, to keep us from having that license of worship. And that's what it's all about. And that's what they sought. And I think that's what he came to in Jesus' life. That we need to have that kind of worship. It is so important that we carry that. No matter what else is going on in life, whatever madness is going on in life, we can have that trust in the Lord. Draw close to Him. It will become easier the more we do. It will become easier for us to have that time set aside because it's His time. Hope you all have a great day. Enjoy the afternoon. Thanks for being here.
So I didn't get